pass on beyond the disciples, which is a sign of divine unapproachability in the sacred writings. When Moses asked the Lord to show him his glory, God responded, "My face you cannot see, for no mortal man may see me and live." The Lord said, "Here is a place beside me. Take your stand on the rock, and when my glory passes by, I will put you on a crevice of the rock and cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen." That was in the era of Moses, of the promise. But in the era of Jesus, of the promise fulfilled, the Messiah reveals himself. The disciples urge the stranger to linger with them, since night is coming on, the time for celebrating the Passover and the Lord's meal. Staying with them, he breaks bread and offers it to them, when their eyes were opened and they recognized him. After they eat the bread of union, they rejoice and say, "Was our heart not on fire in us as he spoke to us along the road and opened out the sacred writings?" There we have an artistic rendition of what the early gatherings of believers did in their meditations on the meaning of Jesus. It shows us how the preaching, praying, communing, and rejoicing disciples met to reflect how Jesus had fulfilled Jewish hopes. It was in such gatherings that the Gospels were gestated. There the oral memories of what Jesus had said and done were turned over and over in the light of the sacred writings. Out of such sessions were the memories of Jesus sifted and ordered, not simply in terms of what memories were available to any gathering, but how those memories were understood. There were two principles of selectivity: looking forward to the passion and resurrection, and looking backward to the Jewish history, destiny, and legacy. The concern was with both where Jesus was going, to death and glory, and where he came from, the whole Jewish development of the promise. Building backwards from the Passion, one gospel, Mark's, reached back to begin from the baptism of Jesus, where the last prophet, John the Baptist, plays the role of Elijah as precursor to the Messiah. This link with the line of sacred history is carried back even farther in the two Gospels that tell of Jesus' birth. Matthew has the child reenact the Exodus from Egypt, and Luke has the child fulfill priestly hopes in the temple. John's Gospel travels even farther back, beyond the birth of Jesus, where the Word is seen as God's wisdom according to the sacred writings. Everything written is an attempt to situate Jesus in the entirety of sacred history. What then is a gospel? The genre has often been debated. The Gospels are not biographies or history books or treatises. Their shape is determined by their uses, by their place in the lives and memories and prayers of the early believers. They are themselves a form of prayer. It was once said that Jesus began as biography and ended as creed. We now know that the reverse of this is true. He begins in the life of the church as Paul encountered and reported it, in the Eucharist formula, the Kerygma, the baptismal hymn, and the hymn to Jesus' divinity. All these are given us in the letters of Paul. These are the earliest records of what was known and believed about Jesus shortly after his resurrection. They begin with a high Christology, a belief in Jesus' divinity. Biographical memories are fitted to them only later, when the Gospels get written. Those biographical memories were present from the outset, but were put in order only as they conformed to the most important fact about Jesus, that his resurrection proved that he was the Messiah. To understand this, constant recourse had to be made to the sacred writings. Proof of this as the organizing principle of Christian preaching and liturgy is seen in the earliest examples of Christian art. Some critics have expressed surprise that the catacomb and mausoleum art of the early centuries is at first almost entirely taken from the Jewish sacred writings, not from what we now call the New Testament. Abraham, Moses, Noah, Jonah, the three men in the fire, Daniel, the patriarch Joseph, Job, those were the popular figures. Initially, these Old Testament figures flooded Christian art to the point even of taking over and dominating it for an extended period. The early believers do not picture the resurrection of Jesus. They knew he had risen. They and their friends had seen the risen Jesus, more than 500 of them, according to our earliest report in the letter to the Corinthians. But what did that fact mean? It fulfilled the sign of Jonah.